When the landfill is sited or permitted, they have to build either put a big plastic liner underneath the ground or pack with dense clay and roll it and pack it. And so it has to be completely sealed, you know, from being able to get into groundwater but what doesn't happen. So groundwater isn't so much of an issue, but you know that decaying, rotting waste is producing methane gas all the time, and belching and burping and gradually decaying. I know there are some landfills, some larger ones. I think that Logan's looking at the possibility of trying to capture that methane gas. A lot of them will put a generator on site, gather the gas, run it through the generator, and put the electricity into their lines there. And so there's a lot of things like that going on. I think Salt Lake City's doing that already.
This group was just visiting the landfill a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about methane regeneration there. And they're actually going to be able to link the two because they're in close proximity. I mean, the landfill's just right across the street from right across that highway from the sewage lagoons, and so they're all kind of working together.
It's kind of a big trend. In fact, a lot of the it's been in the landfills, and now it's getting out to the dairies and stuff where they're being able to capture all that waste from the animals and put it in big vessels enclosed where it kind of cooks down the methane gas off. They're able to burn it, and for a while, and our university was involved in this research, for a while they were trying to clean that methane gas clean enough to pump it into the natural gas line so that we would burn it in our homes, but they struggled with doing that because the properties of natural gas and methane gas are so much different. So now they finally just decided it's just best to burn it on site, turn it into a generator, and then put the electricity into the lines and do cogeneration, much as you would if you owned your own windmill or something like that. So anyway, here's our recycling center, and let me just kind of bring you down.
Just walk on through.
Around this block. What does that look like to you guys?
Trash.
Trash. Garbage, doesn't it? It basically is garbage. And this is stuff that kind of comes in commingled, and it will remain garbage if we didn't do something with it. So what a recycling, this is called the Materials Recovery Facility, a MRF. And so what we do here is we just recover the material. We turn it from trash and we add value to it. And we do that by separating it, okay? So even though it's trash right now, if you take all the plastic and all the aluminum and all the paper out and you're able to separate those items, then all of a sudden your trash becomes into something that's very valuable and very marketable. I told you about the financial aspects of this, of the program, you know, saving the waste. We generate the money to operate this whole thing from two sources. One is from the money that we save by not taking the waste to the landfill. So right now we're recycling about 600 tons a year. So we are, right from the get-go, I went to the university president and says, will you pay us the same for the amount that we recycle as you would have paid the landfill to throw it away? And they agreed to do that. So that's half my revenue. The other half comes from the products that we sell, okay? So our recycling center and all our recycling efforts, we're recycling about 28% of the university's waste. It doesn't cost the university anything. You get no state money. This building was built and paid for by the recycling, and that's the way we get it, from the money we save and from the products that we sell. We generate enough money each year to you know, we use student labor almost exclusively. There's myself, but I do a lot of other things too. And I have another full-time guy who's not here today, and then we employ usually about 10 to 12 to 15 students part-time who come and help us. And then we have a lot of volunteer groups. We have a lot of ecology, environmental groups that come down and put time in. And so, you know, we get our labor to it. So the idea of what we do here, and the whole trick of what we do, is to turn this into something that is marketable. You see the students over there today working. You can see what they're doing with up there in that big box. It's a bunch of jumbled up paper. And so if we left it in that form, that paper would be worth absolutely nothing. By what we're doing here is they're actually separating it into different grades of paper. So this is your white, this started out in a white copy, Rima copy paper. That's white paper. And then the other grades they've got going here, this is, you have your magazine here in your hand. This is your magazine. And you notice that's slick and shiny. You know what makes it slick and shiny? That makes it like those glossy pictures. What is it they put in that paper that makes it shine up like that? Magic? Well, it's obviously not copy paper. What is that? Dirt. Dirt. Clay. That's got clay in it. It's about 30% clay. And so that clay mixed in with the paper makes it nice and shiny. And that's okay, and that's good for magazines, but once it's got that clay in it, it's in it forever. You can't get it back out. So it can only be used for more magazines. Up until about 5 years ago, and again, some of the older ones in here, when we were kids, our moms never let us used to play with the newspaper, because when we did, we'd roll around, and when we come up, we'd have ink all over us, wouldn't we? Not anymore. About 5 or 6 years ago, they started mixing about 30% of recycled magazines into our newspapers. So now when you read the newspapers, the print stays on the newspaper and not so much on your hands. And so that's actually been good for the recycling market, because before we struggled, we would get more recycled magazines than there were product call, you know, for recycled paper to make new magazines. But now the newspaper industry's got into the business. There's a lot of demand for magazines. So most of the magazines that we recycle are sold to the newspaper industry.
I can't believe someone would throw out Ecology and Evolution. I mean,
They didn't. They just recycled. Okay, the next grade there behind you. I'll bring up one of these. What's that? Cardboard? Cardboard? Is that really cardboard?
No.
What's the real name for paperboard? What's the real name for cardboard? It's got a name that goes with it. We don't often use it, but it's called something something. Corrugated cardboard, yeah. So cardboard in its pure form has that corrugated layer. It squishes and it's got some give to it. This doesn't. This is called paperboard, okay? Or cereal boxes, and two entirely different products. Okay, so paperboard again has got different characteristics from magazines and white paper. It can, in our case, it is used. We sell it to a local insulation company who grinds it up and turns it into insulation. But it's different than the regular insulation. This is actually the stuff they spray in the walls. The stuff they put up in the ceiling that's fluffy is made out of regular paper, like newspaper, like you see going down that line. Anything that we don't sort off and we leave on that line goes into that bin. It's not going to the garbage. It's going to this same insulation company. They grind it up and that turns into the cellulose, the fluffy stuff that they spray in the ceilings, and gives you lots of R value. This is also ground up. In both cases they add fire retardant materials so your houses won't burn down and stuff like that, but this is used for a completely different product. So the reason again you can't take that paper down to the company that builds insulation is they can't use this. They can't use magazines, and they don't like to use white. White's the dirtiest paper there is. When we build our white paper in here, it's just a cloud of smoke. You wouldn't think so, because that's the stuff we lick and slobber on and write on and doodle on. But white's got a lot of powder and dust and stuff associated with it. And so they hate it in the industry, because when they're going down there and they're grinding it all up, it's just, in fact, you'll see dust around here on the walls and on the stuff, and it's not that it's dirty, it's the dust from the white paper when you deal with it. So that's why we separate the paper. Again, not separated is worth nothing. When we separate it into those grades, and the rest of everything else is junk mail you see on the belt there, newspapers, colored paper. Now, why can't colored paper be sold as white paper? Because it's colored, right? They can't take that color out. And so we could recycle blue paper if we wanted to recycle every color of paper there was. We could we could do that. But then we'd have to have all these storage facilities to store blue paper and pink paper and yellow paper. Now there is another product that's called Office Pack that a lot of businesses do, where as long as it's kind of pastel, it can't be dark purple or dark pink, but it can be light blue or light green and have some whites in it. So it's kind of a pastel. Any idea what they would turn that into?
Easter eggs.
What's pastel paper product you use every day?
Paint.
Huh?
Paint.
No, paper product.
Poster board.
No. What's light colored paper that you use every day?
Post-it note.
Tissues.
Oh.
Tissues. They turn that into tissues. Like little pink Kleenexes or pale, blue or green or whatever they are. but that's making the tissues. And there's a big, huge tissue mill in Flagstaff, Arizona. So, for example, all of our shredded paper, a lot of your professors, or I'm sure Chris does too, has to shred your test results and anything that has any sensitive information on it, and so that comes to us in bags. Well, it's not very practical for us to dump that on the line, try to sort each little thread. So we don't. We just put it in our baler and it's baled. You'll see some of it out here in just a minute. And it goes down to those big tissue mills because it's basically lighter colored paper. Now our